children, I welcome you all to score 360 out of 360 in NEET Bio within 250 days, and today we are so excited because we are going to start off a new chapter, that is evolution, which is bound to be very boring, but if you go in it, if you go in depth, you will find it is interesting, or else at least I'll try to make it interesting for you. Now what are we going to talk about today? Theories of evolution and Miller's experiment. And the first thing that you have to remember is there are so many questions that have come around Miller's experiment, so this is not something that you have to miss. Now what all did we cover in the previous session? Children, we started off with sexual reproduction in flowering plants, and now we have reached on the molecular basis of inheritance, which is a long journey and it covers all the very important questions. So I thought it will be useful for children who are preparing for boards as well. If you want any help, go watch the videos for these particular chapters. And children who are preparing for NEET, I hope you are well prepared for it, and I hope you have not stopped trying other questions from the same chapter. Even though we might have been going forward with new chapters, still you have to try the other chapters which we just completed. Have a quick revision every now and then. Yeah, works. And what are the number of questions that we can expect from this particular chapter? Wait, basically I made the change in the PPT, it's not visible. Okay, wait. So this is for your evolution. Okay, this is for evolution. So in the previous year, 4 questions came from evolution. Okay, 4 questions is a big deal. So 4 into 4, you get correct 4 marks for all the correct answers. So basically 16 marks for a chapter, which is not something that you can miss, and it's a small chapter, so why to miss it? Yeah. Now starting off with a very interesting thing, going ahead with something boring. So before that, we have to make something interesting, right? So I think that you all are fond of stars. I am very much fond of stars. I love stargazing like hell. Okay, so at this point of time, when we look about to see the sky, we see stars. Can you measure the distance between you and the star? Do you think that it's in kilometers? No, we say it's in trillions of kilometers, but still there is no particular measurable unit that we say. So people, they researched about it and they came up with something. They said that we can measure this with the help of light years. Okay, we can measure this with the help of light years. So probably if I see a star today and I say that it is 7 light years away from me, that means probably this particular light or the star started its journey of emitting light before 7 years, and today at this point of time, after 7 years, it is appearing to me. So in a way, can I say that we are actually looking into our past each time we are looking at the stars, right? So it's fascinating that we are looking at something that has started its journey very old and now it's reaching us. So all the stars that you see, we measure with the help of light years, the distance between us and the stars in the form of light years, and this is a form of stellar distance, okay, the distance between you and the stars. Fine. Now stellar distances are measured in light years. What we see today is an object whose emitted light started its journey millions of years back and from trillions of kilometers away and reaching our eyes right now. So is this important to know, ma'am? We cannot expect that this is not important or important. Basically, any question could come anytime. So you have to know that stellar distances basically are measured in light years. It will be really good. Okay, now you saw about stars. So stars comes in galaxies, right? So where does this galaxy, where does this universe evolve from? What is the theory behind it? And now we are actually going to start our lecture. So the first part, the first theory that we have is Big Bang theory. According to the Big Bang theory, basically the universe arose by just a very big bang that happened, a huge explosion, something that you cannot possibly imagine. And when this explosion happened, there were a lot of things that was being formed. There was a lot of things that was being formed. Okay, and this was a very crucial time. At this point of time, when you think that a bang has happened, obviously the temperature might have risen so much. Okay, the temperature at this point of time might have risen so much. Do you think the atmosphere here, whatever, not atmosphere was not there. Okay, so whatever surrounding here, whatever was there, do you think it was favorable for any organisms to start off its life? No. So basically I say it was a very reducing atmosphere that we had. There was no oxygen. There was no oxygen, children. Okay, so it was aptly reducing. So at this point of time, what do we want? We want Earth. We want Earth. So we have to think of solutions for that. How did it come? So let's start off by reading certain things and then we'll go explaining one by one. So the Big Bang theory attempts to explain to us the origin of universe. Okay, it's about the origin of universe, how everything was there, all the galaxies. It talks of a singular huge explosion of unimaginable in physical terms. The universe expanded and hence the temperature came down. Slowly after this, what will happen? The temperature that was up, it slowly came down, children. Okay, so I am writing temperature got down. But what about this thing? It was still the same. It was still the same. There was no oxygen. So it was reducing. This is a very important thing that I'm telling you over here. Now the gases, okay, one more thing. Hydrogen and helium formed some time later. So temperature went down, there was a reducing atmosphere, and also two guys came into the picture. Who were those? Hydrogen and helium. Will you be able to remember it? It's very important. Okay. Now the gases condensed under gravitation and formed the galaxies of the present day universe. So these gases that you see, obviously, you know, gravitation force is there. So according to gravity, everything has to go down. So these gases that you see, basically all of them, they condensed and they slowly formed small galaxies like this. Okay, so there was an explosion, after which the gases temperature came down, after which the gases also it came down. The gases also came down, and around everything we had these gases. Okay. Now there was no atmosphere on early Earth. Now this suppose is an Earth, this suppose is the Earth, and I am saying there was no atmosphere in Earth, as in there is no covering, there is nothing like that. What was it, children? What was Earth? Earth was just a molten piece of lava. You can think like that. It was just a molten piece of lava where everything was very hot, steamy thing. Okay, it was not something that where we could reside actually. So it was hot, it was steamy. You can think like that. Okay, and there was no atmosphere. Okay, water vapor, methane, carbon dioxide and ammonia released from the molten mass covered the surface. So basically, if I try to zoom just one particular thing, so if I try to rub all this and I just try to show you one thing that was happening with the Earth, it was something like this. So this is the molten Earth that we are having, and the molten Earth basically is releasing certain things. What is that certain thing? Basically, water vapor. It's very important, okay? Water vapor, and then what? Methane. Methane is what? CH3. Okay, and then carbon dioxide, and then ammonia. What was it? NH3. So basically, how many children, how many of the things were released by the molten mass of the Earth itself? Basically, water vapor 1, methane 2, CO2 3 and ammonia 4. These are very important things. Okay, now all this was there, fine, cool. Now what happened? The UV rays from the sun broke up water into hydrogen and oxygen. We need oxygen. As of now, I told you temperature is down and it's a very reducing atmosphere. It's a very reducing atmosphere, and for every living organism, apart from the anaerobic organism that does not need oxygen, we all definitely need oxygen. So oxygen is a must. So where do we bring oxygen from? Basically, just like how you have the Earth, you also have the sun. The sun's UV radiation, it fell on water vapor. Okay, the sun's UV radiation fell on water vapor, and this water vapor was basically broken down to hydrogen and children oxygen. This was broken down to hydrogen and oxygen, and now we have got the oxygen. It's a very important thing. Now what did this oxygen do? Second thing, oxygen combined with ammonia and methane to form water, CO2 and others. So basically this oxygen that you see over here, it combined with other things like methane and ammonia, which were bigger things, right? So it combined with this, and it also combined with this and formed few more CO2. It also formed H2O. It also formed H2O, normal water, okay, and CO2 and a lot of other things as well. And one more thing was formed, that is what, children? Ozone, O3. And how does ozone form? Basically, if you see, if the hydrogen, the water vapor, H2O is split, what do you get? Hydrogen and oxygen. This oxygen, if it goes and binds with another O, what will happen? You will get O3. You will get O3. So if H2O broke down, so if H2O breakdown happened, you get oxygen, and this oxygen combines with another oxygen molecules. You get what? You get what? O3. And that's how ozone was also formed. So not to make it too confusing, I'll just directly say that what did we have? Initially the bang happened. Okay, initially the bang happened. Slowly the temperature came down. okay, but still everything was very reducing. And you had the earth was just a molten mass, and this molten mass were releasing water vapor, methane, CO2 and ammonia, the 4 very important things that was said to be there in the initial times. Okay, now what happened? Basically the sun saw that there is no oxygen. Okay, so sun rays, okay, the UV rays, it fell on the water vapor, which is why it was broken down to hydrogen and oxygen. And this oxygen, when it saw its friend, that is methane and ammonia, what happened? Basically they went and reacted with both of them, and that's where you get a lot of other things which is not mentioned in your NCERT, but at least they said more amount of CO2 was formed, okay, more amount of CO2 was formed, more amount of H2O was formed, and the most important thing, the ozone was formed. This ozone, basically now if I mark it in blue, this ozone will form a layer around the earth and what? Protect it from the UV radiation and protect it from the UV radiation. Okay, so that was not all. As I said, as it cooled, the water vapor fell as rain to fill the depressions and form oceans. So basically in this molten lava piece, everywhere there was depression, and whenever the temperature cooled down, later on when the temperature was cooled down, at this point of time the water vapor that you see, it filled all these depressions, and that's how we had the water bodies as well. That's how we had the water bodies as well. Okay, life appeared 500 million years after formation of earth, that is almost 4 billion years back. It is said that life basically appeared 4 billion years back. By this life, don't think that living organisms came over here, no, but this life, they are trying to say that basically the small things that you see, okay, the small things that you see, they combine together to form the basics, things, just like amino acids. What do you mean by amino acids? Amino acids are the one that will come together to form proteins. So all the basic stuff. For proteins, what do you need? You need amino acids. For DNA, RNA, what do you need? You need the nucleotides. So amino acids, nucleotides, everything was said to be formed almost 4 billion years back. Okay, almost 4 billion years back, this was said to be happen. Please don't think that the living organism or the first living organism came back at 4 billion years ago. No, it's not like that. This is a very important question as well. So I hope this is clear and you remain water vapor, methane, CO2 and ammonia, my dear children. Okay, it's very important. Cool. And the situation that is there, it is reducing and the temperature was wending down. So this was all about the Big Bang theory. Now, universe was formed, that we know. That we got to know that Big Bang theory is there. Okay, everyone agreed to it. But how did actually living organisms came through? How did living organism came through? For that there were different theories. Let's start with that. So the first one is panspermia. Okay, the first one is panspermia. So basically there were certain Greek thinkers. They said that it's not here that the life actually originated. There were few spores from other places. Okay, the spores you recognize, right? Spores that can survive during unfavorable condition. Those are known as spores. Okay, so whenever they find favorable condition, they grow there. So these people, the Greek thinkers, they said that there were spores. These spores that you see, they flew down over here on the earth, and from that spores we got the whole living organisms. That is what they say. And this theory is known as panspermia. What do you call it? Panspermia. Who gave it, children? The Greek thinkers. So early Greek thinkers thought units of life called spores were transferred to different planets including Earth, and this is known as panspermia. Okay, it is still a favorite idea of some of the astronomers. Now for the long time it was said to be true, but then after panspermia came the next theory, and it was actually funny. So you think basically there are certain rotten things, okay, certain rotten things. For example, the carrot that you had, okay, okay, or any leafy vegetable, whatever you want to think, you can think, okay, and all of this was actually decaying. So few people saw that there was mice and all coming from this particular things. Okay, there was mice coming from this particular thing. So they thought that because of this dead and decaying stuff, whatever thing is there, it is actually giving rise to a life form. That is this, because they just saw them there. Okay, they didn't find mice anywhere else but there. So things like this happened. So they were seeing a lot of living organism around dead and decaying things, and they thought that it's the dead and decaying things that is making up the life forms. This was known as theory of spontaneous generation. spontaneously, from somewhere everything was coming across. So what do you call it? Theory of spontaneous generation. Now, we cannot say that they were out of their mind, because obviously at that point of time no one had that particular knowledge that this could have happened, right? At this point of time, if we are the people who do not know anything, even we might think that okay, this might have happened. There's no one to blame. But then other scientists also came up, okay, with the revolutionary technologies that were adapted. New scientists came up, and one such scientist was children Louis Pasteur. He was Louis Pasteur, who said that life came from pre-existing life. Okay, that life basically came from pre-existing life. So I'm writing his line over here. Life came from pre-existing life. And you might be wondering, how can life come from pre-existing life? So he did an experiment. Okay, he did an experiment where he had his own stuff like this, a bottle, okay, like this, with a swan head over here. There was a swan tube like this, okay, and there was a broth, a medium that he was making. Okay, this was sterilized, this was purely sterilized, everything is sterilized over here. So he found that there was no life in here, even though I'm just erasing a bit of it, okay. Even though this particular region was open, there was no life form being seen over here. Why? Because probably dust and the microorganism which was there, it got stuck somewhere here because of the swan neck flask that he used, right? Second thing that he did was, he took another very sterilized, okay, he took another very sterilized broth, and then he opened this particular region. He didn't put this particular region, he had an open region over here, and then he found that life basically formed over here. He was able to see living organisms over here. So he came to a conclusion that probably some microorganisms or some other things that are there in the atmosphere might have come over here, and that is the reason why we were able to see life over here, that is living organism in this particular flask. So he said that life came from the pre-existing ones, the ones that are already there in the atmosphere, the life came from that. But the question was actually, where did the life come from? So the pre-existing life was also a life, we had to know about this, but he didn't give the answer for that. But at least one good thing happened because of his theory, that is, the theory of spontaneous generation was rejected. The theory of spontaneous generation obviously was rejected. No one believed it because there was of no use. Obviously, people came to know that this is the thing. Probably we are getting something from atmosphere which are coming and reacting and forming something else. But at least this was eliminated. So what all theories do you know, children? First thing, the Greek thinkers, they said that all the things that you see here today came from the spores that were in a different planet. They came flying over here and they settled down, and then they had everything. That is panspermia. Okay. Now the second thing that came was theory of spontaneous generation, where everything that you are seeing today are coming from dead and decaying things spontaneously. Okay, that was rejected, that was eliminated because Louis Pasteur performed an experiment according to which he found that when there was a closed atmosphere, nothing is new is being formed over here. But when there's an open atmosphere during this point of time, probably there's an interaction with the microorganism or something else, which is why you would be able to see life forms over here in a purely sterilized beaker or whatever you say. Okay, so that was said, but still, how did the actual life came from? It was still not recognized. Okay, so now came the role of some other people, but before that we have to just read it, so we'll just read it quickly and then we'll go on. Okay, so for a long time it was also believed that life came out of decaying and rotting matter like straw, mud, okay, and this was the theory of spontaneous generation. Now Louis Pasteur, by careful experimentation, demonstrated that life comes only from pre-existing life. He showed that in pre-sterilized flasks, life did not come from killed yeast. Okay, so suppose there was killed yeast over here, there was no life because of the yeast also was killed only. Okay, now if you put killed yeast over here and you keep it open, you still see other organisms are coming and growing over here. Okay, while in other flask open to a new living organisms arose from the killed yeast. So he didn't know that it was not from the killed yeast that new things were arising. Okay, basically there had to be some linkage, but he assumed that okay, killdeers was there probably because of that, and something else that came from outside, that the new living organisms came in. But still, he was at least a bit close. Okay, now there was one more theory, that is theory of special creation. That is theory of special creation, my dear children. What do you mean by theory of special creation? Basically it says that none of this is true. Okay, God was there, or some whatever power that you think of, that was responsible for making the life possible on earth. That is theory of special creation. But since we are dealing with science, and science would not be having too much to do with religion, so we have to keep that aspect away and we have to think in a scientific way. Okay, so this is what the people were thinking, and then came the most famous Oparin and Haldane. Okay, the next people that came into the whole scenario is Oparin and Haldane. Okay, and they had very unique stuff to say. So let's see what they had to say. And this thing that they said was said to be the theory of chemical evolution. I'll give you a basic gist about it, okay, before going and reading around it. So we know that in the in the times, the olden times, where the earth was still being formed, we said there were certain things there. What was it? Water vapor, and then what, children? Ammonia, water vapor, ammonia. Can you tell me more? What do you have? Carbon dioxide and methane. Carbon dioxide, and then you had methane. So you had all these things, all these four things, sorry. Okay, I say they're inorganic. I say that they are inorganic molecules. Why do I call them inorganic molecules? Because I don't find CC and CH bonds over there. What do you mean by that? Basically, if you see CO2, so you have C and 2 oxygen. Over here, do you see a CC bond or do you see a CH bond? No, you have just CO bond. Over here, if you take ammonia, do you see you had NH3, right? So 3 H are there. Do you see any CC or CH bond? No, nothing. So whenever there is no CC or CH bond, you call them inorganic molecules. So according to Oparin and Haldane, they said that basically these inorganic molecules that you see, okay, inorganic molecules that you see under reducing atmosphere and high temperature, they are going to come together. These things that you see, they are going to come together and form organic molecules. And form what? Organic molecules. So basically that you see over here, the inorganic ones are giving rise to things that are organic, that has CC or CH bonds in them. For example, what do you have, children? Amino acids. That forms up the proteins. Okay, so the basic things are being formed. The nucleotides that will form up the nucleic acids, that is DNA and RNA, everything. So everything was being formed with the help of this during this. And this theory was accepted. Why? Because yes, we had this initially. And the reducing temperature, atmosphere was also there. There was high temperature as well. And somewhere we got the life forms. So basically the organic molecules that you see over here, the amino acids, nucleotides, they might have formed. And later, these amino acids and everything might have come together. So here ends their findings. Okay, here ends their finding. Now I am telling you the rest of the things. Okay, the next thing that might have happened is basically the amino acids that you see over here might have come together to form the proteins. Okay, or the nucleotides that you see together might have come together to form the genetic material, that is RNA initially, and then later DNA. So the simplest one was RNA, and then came the complementary strand, and then came a more complex version of it, that is DNA. So everything might have arisen like that. And this particular theory was known as theory of chemical evolution, because you see, you're talking about all the different molecules, my dear children. Okay, and with this theory, he said probably later on. Okay, so the first life, we said the first life has come. We say it's 4 billion years ago. Sorry, 4 billion years ago. We're talking about this. Still, life has not come. Then we say certain non-cellular stuff has come. That does not have cell, nothing like that. No cells are there. Okay, over here. Probably these things that you see might have arranged themselves in a way. You call them as protobions, where Protobionts are something that the primitive cells that have come, not cells also, I cannot call them cells, primitive units that have come when these and these things join together. Some things might have joined together, you might have got a structure and you call them protobionts. Okay, you call them protobionts. Still, I cannot categorize them under cellular category. They do not have cells and anything like that. They might have undergone evolution. They might have reproduced themselves. Something might happen such that you got more complex organisms later on. Later on, after years. Okay, so there is a timeline for everything. We say that the universe, I will talk about the timeline later on. Okay, so basically 4 billion years ago this life occurred. Then people said that basically 3.5 billion years ago basically a non-cellular form was observed, and then 2 billion years ago the first cellular form was observed, and stuff like that. So you have a different timeline for everything. As of now, when we're talking about Oparin and Haldane, this was the thing that they said, and this is the thing that you have to remember as well. So please remember these names, this thing, and next thing. Now, they said this, Oparin and Haldane, they said this, but obviously you need proof also. Without proof, can you believe anything in science? No. So there was an experiment being done, but it was not done by them. It was done by another scientist whose name was Miller. But before going ahead with that, I want you to read your NCERT once. So let's read NCERT and then we'll come back. So over here, Oparin of Russia, please remember, Oparin of Russia. Okay, and then Haldane of England. So you have Haldane of England. Hero, you can remember like that. I saw it from a teacher who was teaching very nicely, so I thought, why not? If it is useful for you, then I can copy it, right? So yes, it is Oparin of Russia and Haldane of England who proposed that the first form of life that could have come from the pre-existing non-living organic molecules. Okay, wait. Life could have come from, okay, Oparin of Russia and Haldane of England proposed that the first form of life could have come from pre-existing non-living organic molecules, example RNA and protein, etc., and that formation of life was preceded by chemical evolution, that is formation of diverse organic molecules from the inorganic constituents. So this is what I was saying. Okay, the formation of diverse organic molecules from inorganic constituents. So there is one more addition in that. Over here they have said that basically the life come from pre-existing non-living organic molecules. So they said that over here. So I'll just extend over here a bit. Okay, I'll extend over here a bit and say that life basically came from organic molecules like RNA and protein, everything, which were made by the inorganic molecules. So there's a slight change. So according to Oparin and Haldane, they said that basically life came from the organic molecules, which obviously, as I said earlier, came from the inorganic molecules. So they had twisted everything and said in a different manner. I hope you do not mess it up just like how I messed it up. Okay, so life came from pre-existing non-living organic molecules. Okay, they were not living. RNA and protein, do you think they are living? No. So life came from them. How did they came? They came from inorganic molecules, and this process is known as chemical evolution. This thing from there is organic and there is inorganic. This evolution that you see over here, that is known as chemical evolution. At least that part is correct. Okay, now the condition on earth were high temperature, volcanic storms were there, reducing atmosphere was there, containing CH4, NH3, etc. In 1953, what is the year? 1953, S.L. Miller and an American scientist created similar conditions in a laboratory scale. Okay, so what did he do? To prove everything, he made the setup like this, where according to whatever was said by them, that is temperature was kept high. Okay, temperature was kept high. The atmosphere that you see over here was kept very low. Okay, as in it was kept to be in reducing way. The atmosphere that you see over here, it was reducing, and the temperature that you see was very high. And how high was the temperature? Over here it is written, just see. He created electric discharge in a closed flask containing CH4, H2, that is hydrogen, NH3 and water vapor at 800 degrees Celsius. I don't know why it has 8000 mentioned over here. Basically it is 800 there. Okay, so I'll just mention it like it is 800 degrees Celsius. Okay, it is 800 degrees Celsius. So what was there? The temperature was 800 degrees Celsius, reducing atmosphere was maintained, and also all these things that you see over here. That is what basically you have your CH4, okay, and you have your H2 and you have your NH3 and everything, and water vapor. And water vapor. Cool, everything was there. Okay, I did one more mistake. Oh my god, children. Why I have to do all this thing? So CH3 is not methane, CH4 is methane. Fine. Cool. Here also it's CH4. Fine. Everything else, rest is same. This is same. Cool. Now he observed formation of amino acids in similar experiments. Okay. So basically, when he did this experiment, he found that okay, we have to keep 2 electrodes, which would be giving the spark. Okay, which would be giving the spark and the high temperature and everything that was needed. And over here you had all these gases. Okay, you had all these gases. If you see, CO2 was not mentioned over here. If you see, CO2 is not mentioned over here. Instead, H2 is mentioned. Instead, this is mentioned. Okay, and here you have a boiling water, and this boiling water tube is connected to this particular tube. Over here, the boiling water will be giving water vapor. The boiling water will be giving water vapor that will come over here. That will come over here. So you have everything that you need, and which was exactly like the olden times that we said over here when we were speaking about how things were made according to Big Bang theory. Everything was satisfied over here as well. Okay, and then there was a condenser and everything, and later they found that there was a pit like this where whatever was formed came and precipitated. Over here you had all the things, water with the organic compounds. So from inorganic compounds that you see over here, an organic compound was formed, and that was found in the trap that is found over here. Okay, this was S.L. Miller's experiment. And what already he found, children? He found that formation of sugars were there, nitrogen bases were there, pigments were there, and fats were there. So all these things were there. Okay, analysis of meteorite content also released similar compounds indicating that similar processes are occurring elsewhere in the space. What do you mean by that? Basically, you know, still also we have meteorites coming around, and when we see the meteorites, we see same process. When we examine them, we see that same things that was assumed to be happened before was happening over here also. So it is assumed that it's not just the earth, there are other areas also where the same thing is happening, and probably life forms might be there as well. So as of now, when I am talking, you just imagine a scenario where there may be some other planet where the life is still being formed with whatever we have studied as of now. Okay, so that is there. So in this particular whole paragraph, what you have to learn, first thing, Oparin of Russia and Haldane of England gave what? The theory of chemical evolution, and according to them, they said that life came from pre-existing, non-living. They was not living, okay, they were non-living organic molecules. What do you mean by that? RNA and protein. And then in the next line also they have written that where did this organic molecule came from? From the inorganic molecules which were there. Okay, and this was known as chemical evolution. Fine, this was known as chemical evolution. Louis Pasteur said that life came from pre-existing what, children? Life came from pre-existing living organisms. So over here there's a quite difference. Pre-existing non-living organic molecules were the one that gave life. Now going ahead, to prove this, okay, there was an experiment being done by S.L. Miller. He was an American scientist. In the year 1953, he created a structure like this where he had electrodes, where he had all the reducing atmosphere, where he had a boiling water to give out water vapors and everything, and then he had a trap also to check what all things are getting sedimented, what are the things that are getting formed. And when he kept this situation, when he had this whole setup being done, he found that there were sugars being formed, there were nitrogen bases being formed, there were pigments and fats also being formed at the end of this. Okay, he found amino acids were being formed. Okay, a lot of things he found. And then when meteorites which came altogether, even now when they are coming, when they examine them, we see the similar things are happening with them also. So this theory that was found was actually true as well. Okay, so 1953, please remember that. Cool, works. I hope this is also done. Going ahead, the timeline of the origin, you have to remember this. How far have we come? Okay, so first thing, the universe is old, almost what, 20 billion years old. How old? 20 billion years old. Now Earth was supposed to have been formed 4.5 billion years back. Earth, if you talk about universe, it was 20 billion years old. If you talk about Earth, you remember the Big Bang theory, everything happened, and 4.5 billion years ago, your Earth was formed. This was the universe, this was the Earth. Now 4 billion years ago, what did you find, children? Formation of Earth. Almost 4 billion years ago, what life appeared. So life appeared. What do you mean by life appeared? You might be talking about the molecules that you made, okay, the RNA, the protein and everything that you made. It's not the life that is living organism like us that was being made. So 4 billion years ago this was made. Now next thing, the first non-cellular forms of life could have been originated 3 billion years ago. So non-cellular form of life, if we see, they do not have cells. Non-cellular form of life, okay, the protobionts that you see, okay, which does not have a cell and anything, but they have the organic molecules coming together and forming a body, that's all. Okay, they would have been giant molecules, RNA, protein, polysaccharides, etc. So all the RNA, the proteins, the sugar, everything might have come together to form a giant molecules. So this is a non-cellular form that they observed. Now, the first cellular form of life did not possibly originate till about 2000 million years ago. That means 2 billion years ago. Okay, this is the first cellular form. The first cellular form that was found, my dear children. And one more thing, all the life forms that you see were in water environment only. So we said the life came from water. So basically the water, everything that came down, okay, when the water vapor it condensed and came down in the form of water, basically in here also there might be, you know, right, under sea also you have volcanoes being erupting. So these volcanoes were erupting and you had the hot atmosphere and everything to help in the formation of bonds, for formation of something else. So things might have originated from there itself. It is said like that, okay, from aquatic life. So this is the timeline that you have to remember. 20 billion years ago, what did have come? Universe. Then 4.5 billion years ago, Earth. Then 4 billion years ago, the life had appeared. What do you mean by life appeared? RNA and protein, everything that you saw, okay. 3 billion years ago, the non-cellular form of life, and 2 billion ago, the first cellular form of life also appeared. Works? Easy? Now, let's solve the questions. First question. From his experiments, S.L. Miller produced amino acids by mixing the following in a closed flask. So, what were the things? You know, my dear children, we have already covered it, and I also want to tell you again that in the case of Miller's experiment, okay, just a second. In the case of Miller's experiment, you did not use CO2, instead you used H2. Because hydrogen was anyways there. We said that hydrogen and helium was always there from the starting. So hydrogen was there. Instead of CO2, this was examined. Cool? Works? So I hope you know the answer for the same. And now we are going ahead for the second question. So which of the which of the following is the correct sequence of events in the origin of life? Formation of protobionts, synthesis of organic monomers, synthesis of organic polymers, formation of DNA based genetic system. I'll tell you the example of monomers and polymers, if you can understand, okay. So over here you have three things coming together to form a polymer. Each of them separately, what do you call? You call them a monomer unit, children. So for example, amino acid coming together, they form a polymer of proteins, and all the amino acids that you see over here, they are monomers. I gave you a hint, you have to find the answer. Going ahead with the next question, third. The concept of chemical evolution is based on what? Just go through, just read it once and then tell me. Interaction of water, air and clay under intense heat, effect of solar radiation on chemicals, possible origin of life, a combination of chemicals under suitable environmental condition, crystallization of chemicals. What is the answer for the same? Easy question. Fourth question. According to a parent, which one of the following was not present in the primitive atmosphere of the earth? So there is no mention about what, but if you put a little common sense, you will be able to answer. I said there was reducing environment. So in reducing environment, what will be missing? You have to tell the answer. Fifth question. There is no life on moon due to the absence of what? What is that something that gave rise to all the living organisms that you see over here? What was the initial spark that happened? Think about that, you'll get the answer for the same. Now, let me solve these questions for you and you check if your answers are correct. Now, from his experiments, S.L. Miller produced amino acids by mixing the following in a closed flask. What was that? I told you it was methane, it was H2 and NH3 and water vapor. At what degree Celsius? 800 degrees Celsius. So methane, I did the mistake. Please, you don't do the mistake. It is CH4. Okay, so this will be the correct answer. Going ahead with the next. Which one of the following is the correct sequence of events? So first thing, you got the organic monomers, that is the amino acids and everything. So this becomes first. Then you made the polymers. This becomes second. Then protobionts came, something that does not have everything. It was just a life form that came into knowledge. Later on, they reproduced, there were certain changes. Later on, DNA-based genetic systems were formed. DNA was not formed initially. RNA was formed initially. So this becomes the fourth thing. So what will be the correct answer, children? It will be second, second, third, first and fourth. This is the correct answer. C is the correct answer. Going ahead, the concept of chemical evolution is based on, what is it based on? Is it based on the interaction of water, air and clay? No, children. Effect of solar radiation on chemicals? No. Possible origin of life by combination of chemicals under suitable environmental condition? This is the correct answer. Cool? Now, according to Oparin, which one of the following was not present in the primitive atmosphere of the earth? I told it's reducing, and if it's reducing environment, oxygen is that something that won't be present on the earth. Going ahead, there is no life on moon due to the absence of what? So what was that something that broke down when UV rays fell and then oxygen came in? Basically it was water vapor. So you need water, and water is not there on moon, which is why this becomes the answer. Cool? So I hope you were ready with evolution, and today I have a question for you, okay, from evolution itself. This is the homework question. You have to try it out yourself. Which one of the following amino acid was not found to be synthesized in the Miller's experiment? Alanine, glycine, aspartic acid, glutamic acid. This is not there in the first para, but you have to try and find the answer and tell me. There is one amino acid that was not being found. You have to tell me the answer, okay? So that's all, children. I hope that this particular video was helpful for you, and you now have the gist to study evolution. We will study it together, and if you have any sort of doubts, please feel very free to ask me in the comment section. And I hope you have a wonderful day. Bye bye, take care, be happy, my dear children, and do not forget to subscribe to our channel as well. Bye.